So hello and welcome to another episode of The Future is Electric. It is my second year electric anniversary, so I thought I'd document that with this video, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts now being an owner for 2 whole years of this electric car, the Peugeot e208. So I'll be splitting this video into 2, a section discussing this car per se, and a section discussing the whole going to electric nature. As always, I'm Luke, and welcome to another episode of The Future is Electric. So 2 years ago, after a 6-month wait, I received my Peugeot e208, a full electric vehicle, having driven a petrol car for some 12 years before that. It was an automatic car, so nothing new in that sense when it comes to the electric. And honestly, you know my thoughts about the situation. I feel that a very small percentage, nearly nothing, of the people who go electric decide to go back. Yes, there is a change. You have to get used to organizing your charging, but everything else, and literally everything else, I believe, and through experience now I say this, is so much better. Now, when I made the change 2 years ago, as some of you who follow this channel already know, it was new to me, but it wasn't new to me. So my dad now has owned an electric car for 6 years, and my uncle coming up on 11-12 years. A full electric car, and we have plenty of them in the family, because once we had that honest family opinion about this new technology, we were convinced. It wasn't the car agencies or the car brands convincing us, it wasn't the EU and government incentives, it was the real honest opinion of family members who had given it a go and discovered that this is a lot better than what we were used to. And my experience in these 2 years has been exactly that. Of course, the biggest reason you make the change, I believe, for electric vehicles, in particular with the situation here in Malta, is the cost of ownership. So how much it costs to refuel, per se, the vehicle. Now, I'm not going to go into that, because we have a whole video coming up on the channel dedicated to just that. So I'm going to leave that information for that video. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you hit that subscribe button below, so you'll know once that video is released. But the charging, I personally charge at home. I'm very lucky, I know, to have that facility to charge at home. It takes me literally around 6 seconds to charge the car, because I park it in the garage like I've always done with my previous car. I connect the wire, it takes me 3 seconds, and then the following morning I unplug the wire before I get in, another 3 seconds. That is the amount of time I waste from my day to recharge the vehicle. And again, I am doing that around every 9 days, so a week and a half. That's how long the charge lasts here in Malta. So 340 kilometers WLTP, I remind you, on this Peugeot e208. So with our average driving in Malta, 20-25 kilometers a day, which is like nothing compared to abroad, that is the frequency of how often you're going to need to spend 6 seconds of your life recharging the vehicle. Now, I often meet people and they tell me you're an early adopter of this new technology. And perhaps in the grand scheme of things that may be true, but honestly I feel I was late to the party, because electric vehicles, I've learned and realized now through experience, have been good enough for city-like driving experiences, or driving experiences like Malta, where the country is so small, it's like a small city. The ranges are so small that electric vehicles have been more than good enough for 10 plus years already. It's perhaps once you get on the motorway abroad where you really start to feel the range biting back. But range is always going up. Year after year, the range is increasing. And it's increasing not because they're putting in bigger batteries. but because the batteries are actually becoming better and the cars themselves becoming more efficient. Now, a lot has changed in these 2 years. So obviously a lot of inflation has happened, so the prices of new vehicles has gone up, both petrol and electric though. There's a war, there's COVID still sort of happening in a lot of parts of the world, so it's been quite a turbulent few years. But in the electric vehicle field, what has really changed is the sales numbers have continued to grow and grow very strong. So this year it's calculated, and the trend 2023, if you're watching this video later on, that 1 out of every 5 new vehicles worldwide will be full electric vehicles. The situation here in Malta is actually a bit better. Q1 of 2023, 1 out of every 4 vehicles put on the road full electric. Because Malta, it makes sense. And it makes sense financially as well. So this is something that has really changed in these 2 years since I bought the car. So the EV grant, the money, the cash back you get from the government, which is coming from EU funds for purchasing an electric vehicle. When I bought the car, it was 8,000 euros plus 1,000 euros, so 9,000 in total if you scrap another car. And basically that's gone up to an 11 plus 1, so 12,000 euros cashback. It's the most generous scheme, to the best of my knowledge, worldwide. So we really have it good here in Malta when it comes to the electric vehicle grants, because it makes so much sense for Malta. We are so small, low speeds, ideal temperature, everything that goes against electric cars. We are the complete opposite. We are the ideal country for electric vehicles. Another big thing which has changed since I bought my car in these 2 years is now there is an EU-funded loan at 0% interest. So you can buy an electric vehicle now and literally pay 0% interest over a 10-year period. Again, those interests are still being paid, but they're being paid by the European Central Bank. So you, the consumer, do not foot the bill for the interest. You just pay for the car over a 10-year period. And I often still hear the argument that electric vehicles are expensive. But oh boy, couldn't you be more wrong about that, especially here in Malta. Just run the numbers. Take the price of a new electric car, take the price of a new petrol car, reduce the grant, and calculate financing options on both. And that 0% really starts to make a difference here. And of course, license is of course free, €0 per year, 5 years guaranteed. And at the moment, €10 after that. So I do not understand the argument that electric vehicles are expensive. If people just open a spreadsheet and plug in 3 numbers, you will come to a very different conclusion. So a bit about my car per se here, the Peugeot e208. Let me tell you, 2 years later, and I've seen plenty of cars on the channel, for me, I would still go for this car. Primarily because I'm attracted to its design. I think Peugeot are at the top of their game when it comes to design. You can see it not only in this car, but in all the other cars they're releasing at the moment. The electric tech is good. It's not great, we have seen better on the channel, but if I was to average it out, I still go for this car again, and that's my honest opinion. So there are things which I would have liked to see in this car, which we have seen on other brands on the channel. So for example, the vehicle to load, or the ability to power appliances using the car's battery, something we saw in the Hyundai Ioniq and other brands as well. I think that's a great feature. It's a feature you only appreciate of what you can do with it once you essentially have it, because otherwise this is just something completely new to owning a vehicle per se. So that's something I would like to see in this car, which it doesn't have. I do like the speed camera warning system, which you heard over there. It's worked all the time, to be honest. One nice thing I had is that it got updated alone once they added new speed cameras on my route. It goes off before and it goes off after you've passed the camera. One annoying thing, which I don't believe they've ever been able to fix, is the volume of that chime sometimes is annoyingly loud. and I've tried to find the reason for why it would be louder sometimes and other times, maybe if you're going faster or if you have the music on or the volume, and I found no conclusion. If anyone has a conclusion for why that happens, please leave a comment below, because I'm very, very curious. Sometimes it comes on and it is like excruciatingly loud for no apparent reason. So that's one thing I don't like, but I can do it with that. Another thing we've seen on the channel, and it is coming to Peugeot cars very soon, is the LFP battery. Half of the world's electric vehicles are now being sold with LFP batteries. These are still lithium-ion, of course, but they do not have cobalt and they do not have nickel, which inherently makes them a lot cheaper. It's one of the driving forces at the moment to bring that price down. But the best thing about LFP are the fact that it has up to double, if not triple, the amount of charge cycles. So if this battery, which is an NCM, nickel, cobalt, manganese chemistry, and lithium of course is always there, if this battery is rated to give 1,500 cycles, an LFP battery gives 3,000 or more, significantly more, before it starts to degrade and lose a lot of its juice. So that is something I'd like to see. So LFP is actually an older technology, right? It came out 10 years ago. We didn't use it, or electric car manufacturers didn't use it, because it is heavier as a battery technology and less energy dense. But the other parts of the vehicle have improved, and now cost is the driving factor in the design. So this is why they're sort of going back to LFP technology. It's something the Chinese are pushing a lot. In fact, that is where most of the cars which have LFP batteries have come out so far. Something about the range of the car. So if you've seen my Tech Focus review, it was the very first video released on the channel. This car had a WLTP range of 340 kilometers, and in the early months I got the car, that actually started going up. So I was seeing ranges of 350, 360 kilometers. However, it has gone down. I've never actually seen those ranges again. So 340 WLTP, and may I remind you that in most countries, and you can confirm from the comments below for anyone watching this from abroad, you will not get 340 kilometers. In Malta, we get WLTP or close to it because of our ideal conditions. Now, what have I gotten? So these days when I charge my car, I get around 332 kilometers. Is that battery degradation? I don't know, and I don't think so. I think this is the car readjusting its range based on the way I drive. There would be some battery degradation, no doubt about it, especially with the nickel, cobalt, manganese, NCM chemistry, which does take us a hit, so to speak, at the beginning and then stabilizes in its degradation. But I don't believe, but to be honest, even though it's not giving me the 340, it's giving me the 332, honestly, I no longer care. Because, as I said, it takes me 6 seconds to charge this vehicle, and I have adequate charging infrastructure, so I just go home and plug it in, essentially. So whether it gives me 300 or 100 kilometers, honestly, to me and to a lot of people in a small city-like environment, is not going to make any difference. So range anxiety is something I heard about and heard about and heard about. I have never experienced range anxiety, and I've learned that I will never experience range anxiety. So if you're also a Peugeot e208 owner, whether it's this model 2021 release or later where they actually changed a few things and managed to increase the range of the vehicle, I'd like to hear your comments. What are your thoughts? What range are you getting based on the country you are in? Just to tell you, my kilometers are, after 2 years, 13,700, which is actually bang on the average kilometers we do here in little tiny Malta. So how are you doing? Do you have a later version, the 2022 or 2023 perhaps? How is that one faring? So there were some technology updates, as I said, which we talked about in the Peugeot e208 review. I'm linking that above so you can go check it out, and particularly what they changed in the vehicle. Anyways, I'm Luke. This is my 2-year EV anniversary. And my advice to anyone who's still deciding to look over the fence and to see if the grass is greener on the other side, I can confirm from the other side of the fence, it is a lot greener on the other side. So make the switch as soon as you can, because it will benefit you first and foremost financially, and it of course benefits the rest of society, because we have removed those cocktail of pollutants from traditional vehicles from our city roads, where they where they cause the most problems for society as a whole in terms of health. So as always, I'm Luke. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And I hope I've convinced you 2 years on that the future is electric.